Sounds good. So we're going to have a look at the GitLab triage gem, which I can't remember how easy it is to test in isolation.
Pretty easy, I think. I just
in
ran
the, go on.
No, I tried to run, at least the test suite is pretty easy to run. I guess if you mean actually testing whether it works or not, that's another thing.
Yes, I think so. But what I think I may have done in the past, I mean, whether we get that far or whether we want to or need to, but I've used the triage ops project, and I've never fully understood how it works, but edited like the not the compiled gem, but like
Sure.
what triage ops is pointing at, so that I can actually run a policy and see how it goes. But let's see what we can do. I will my screens. I'm in the wrong project at the moment, but hopefully I have. Yeah, looks like I've got it. It's super old. Awesome. And are you happy if we do the confidential? Start with that one.
Yeah, I think so. I think we should start with that one. Would it make sense to look at the issue first, just to set like what we're trying to do here and what this even is?
I'm just gonna pause my share for a second while I get a nice clean web browser up.
You mean you don't have 400 tabs open like me?
Yeah, exactly that. And then it always so happens that coincidentally you've got like a confidential issue open or something. So save the embarrassment and try.
Yes, I do try to. We think we do try to upload these as public. So
absolutely, yeah. So we got misleading. Should be able to share again. Got the wrong one open at the moment, but I hope that go in here. Yeah, both of them are there. Awesome.
All right.
So at the moment, our comment function method, whatever you want to call it, pretty much it just does what it says on the tin. It's pretty basic. It doesn't support any of the REST API. So I'm not sure what other modifiers or parameters there might be. There's probably very few anyway, but you cannot set an internal or confidential flag at the moment. So, notes and comments. Yeah, so there's not a whole lot there anyway, in all honesty.
One thing that stood out to me here, though, is that you see there are two of them, one called confidential, one called internal, which are doing the same thing, but one was deprecated. It said scheduled to be removed in 16.0, which is for a few months ago. I don't know if it has been removed or not.
Interesting. My suspicion is probably not, and I know I'm not going to get into this long-winded discussion about deprecating from the API, because the API is v4 and it has been v4 since I remember starting working with GitLab like 5+ years ago. So technically, we're not supposed to make any breaking changes to the API until we version to v5.
Yep.
But I don't know if this sort of contradict, or maybe that's the reason this has kind of happened.
So yeah, I think the note what I have done with reviewers is you mark it as deprecated, you tell them what else to use. I don't think you can actually remove it even in a major release from the API. I think this is the best. I like, clearly this didn't get removed, or hopefully it didn't, and maybe this was whatever sparked the discussion that I remember seeing. But yeah,
may well be. But the good thing is at least it tells you to use that one, and we'll make sure we use that one.
I think that's fine. Yeah, for the API, I feel like for UI changes, for sure, you can like take things out and remove them, and we have a deprecation process. But the API is like It's completely different. And I think what you
It's
see
weird
is,
because it feels like we've kind of I don't know what the word is, but like put ourselves in this situation for a reason I don't know if you know, because we're versioning the API separately to the UI, I guess you'd call it, but that's not for today. So yeah, internal is what we want to be able to set.
Yeah, I suggested a way that like what this could look like. I don't know if it's really any good. It was inspired because there is another if you look at the docs for the triage gem, there's a similar thing like this that you can kind of modify what your comment will look like by adding another parameter like this. It felt a bit weird to me because I felt like it should be, one level below comment, like it should be comment the text and then is it internal, yes or no, and not like, I don't know if I'm expressing it correctly, but you see the way I presented it here is like they're at the same level, which feels a bit weird because one doesn't make sense without the other at all.
Yeah. So what was the existing you said there was something similar.
Yeah, if you scroll down a bit more, there's a list. At some point, there's like a menu with all the, here we go. There's a similar list for all the actions. So if you just scroll a little bit more, maybe it'll be easier to find this way. I just can't remember which one it was. Here, you can click on actions field and this will bring you to, okay. Comment type, I think it was then maybe. The comment type action option.
But
so this is a comment action, but if you scroll below this one, there's one called
comment type,
here.
right? Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Here.
Yeah.
So this can be like a comment or a thread, but it basically applies to. I also assume it wouldn't make sense to just use this action without an actual comment body, right? Like it wouldn't mean anything. What would it even do?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I feel like that's already in its current state a bit not the best maybe config style, but we can be consistent with that. Just have another another configuration field called whatever, internal comment or something else. But
so I'm just trying to wrap my head around. So you got a comment, you can only have threads or merge requests, right? Yeah. So we can't get away with having comment or thread or internal comment because you can have an internal comment and an internal thread, right?
Well, an internal thread would be a I don't know, what would it be? Is it just like a thread that starts with an internal comment and all the following ones are also internal? Or
yeah, what I mean is like we can't use this existing.
Okay.
I would like to use it, but I don't think we can because that would end unless we create 4 like comment thread, internal comment, internal thread.
Yeah, I see what you mean now.
It is maybe a bit much.
It also feels like kind of semantically would be a bit weird because internal yes or no is kind of its own thing as far as the API is concerned and has nothing to kind of completely, nothing to do with the other one. So I wouldn't want to combine them, I think.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. It's kind of something to do with a comment, so you'd expect it to be underneath or inside.
Which is fine. I guess it just evolved this way. Probably initially it was just comment, and it was like this only needs to be a string. But ideally it would be more like a dictionary, I guess. But I don't think we need to change that. It's okay.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the problem, right? So when they wanted to introduce this, they didn't want to make a breaking change and then have like multiple like, oh, you need to set a type and a value or a type and a text. So that's exactly why they went down that route. Okay, so you're thinking similar.
A true or false thing called. I wanted to start with the word comment as well, so it would be at least feels related. But then it was like comment internal, and then that was like, no, that doesn't really work in English. I don't know. It works in French, but like we're not coding in French here, so.
I mean, it's not perfect, but it makes a lot of sense. And I guess if we get it functioning and working like that, then the naming convention is kind of I don't know what you want to call it, semantic, and we can.
Yeah, it's minor to change at least, right? That's not where the.
Yes, absolutely.
It's
Awesome.
arguably the easiest thing to change, but also the hardest one because naming is very hard. So
yeah, that comes up at time and time again, and yeah, I definitely agree with that. So I can't really remember my way around the the code base.
So I had a look before. If you check out the, what was it called? The comment file, I think it's called comment.rb.
The action.
Yeah. That has a bunch of builders, like they're building a bunch of commands, because basically a few of these commands or actions, I guess, are kind of what I'm calling secretly comments actions, right? They're just using quick action to do what they need to do. So for example, on line 58, you have the status command, like status action.
Yeah.
And if you look at the docs, it's like, okay, status, you can pick open or close or reopen or close, something like this.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's completely independent from a comment, actually, but it still is built here as a comment. But actually, now that I think about it, it wouldn't be no, it wouldn't be a separate command. Or would it be? No, I guess so. I was thinking maybe we just have like a command, another command builder like this.
So,
or maybe we should look at how the thread thing is done.
I think I'd already come up with a theory, hadn't I? Let me remind myself. I might need to look at source web URL. Build comment resource. Yes, here is where I think it needs to be. So it's how can we control that?
Where's the thread thing being done? Like, you know, we were looking at comment type because it feels pretty similar functionally, right? It's like a modifier for your comment, maybe.
Yeah, I guess I'm more on the other end of not like where do we sort of drive the logic, but what do we actually need to do to network.post.
I think the build post URL there is where all the actual you know, query parameters and stuff are being thrown in there. So that's probably, I would assume this is inside of build post URL that we need to
I guess
build in the internal thing.
I guess so. I mean, I think it's slightly weird to put it as part of the query string, but actually I don't see any reason why you can't. Oh, can't you? Does our API care? I don't think it does. If it's a HTTP, like if it's a get parameter or a post parameter, if you know what I mean, like if it's in the query string or if it's in the post body.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I feel like it should be in the body, but
okay,
I don't know.
Body. I'm interested by this post API. I'm assuming that's not something we've created. Oh, it is. Wow. This is syntactical magic that I've never seen before. My goodness. I'm trying to understand how, because the comment I presume is text. I presume, but it might not be. Let's go back a bit. Build comment. Oh, it might not be. Let's learn comment builder. Yeah, I think it's just text, but my understanding is that what this somehow translates to.
It's got to be text that's just formatted so that it can be posted as body. It looks like it's kind of building text and then labels and then removes and then needs like that build comment method.
Yeah, what I'm kind of getting at is that how can I explain? So what I expect the post request to look something like would be like post URL and then body text. I know that sounds weird, but that's because this is the HTTP post request body. And then this is the body, assuming that I've got the right name for the parameter. This is the body parameter.
Yeah, you're right.
It gets a little bit
The naming is strange.
Exactly. So in here, we want our internal flag, true or false. So what I can't quite see from the syntactical wizardry that's going on here.
What's the REST API here? Because this kind of looks like it's just a very thin wrapper on another library, right?
It's the other file that's in their search REST API network.
This is also ours then.
It looks that way. It looks that way. Thanks for pointing out what was right in front of me. I should have looked a bit harder. So when we do a post,
I do work on the search team.
The find team.
Yeah.
So adapter.post token URL and body.
So this looks like body is actually the HTTP body, right?
Okay. Kind of. And it just has a tag called body inside of it, or like a parameter attribute, whatever you want to call it.
Adapter is adapter, which we initialize at some point. This is where we end up down this rabbit hole, right? Yeah, I'm still a little bit unsure how it's
Can you check the build thing? Like Terry was calling out this function called build command. Like maybe that's the one that just spits out a dictionary that actually says body blah, something else blah. Maybe this one or something something within one of these builders somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. It just looks like it's kind of joining the array, and that's it. I'm still not quite seeing where this extra body gets added in, if that makes sense. So here we're passing body comment to this post API. What I'm unsure.
So where's the call that's making that thing that you were on? Where's that call? I'm sorry, I missed it. My team has an ongoing issue and I was kind of trying to follow along. So that perform method, where's that called from?
So perform is called from up here.
Okay, comment, build comment. Oh.
So I'm pretty confident. I mean, maybe we put a breakpoint in it in a minute. Actually, that probably is the best way to do it. I'll see if I can run a test with a breakpoint, but I think this is just plain text. I don't think it's got this kind of thing in at this point in time. Yeah, let's see if we can do that. Have I made any other changes? I've just added that. Perfect. So yeah, let's see if there's a spec that just kind of add comment spec or something like that. What is it? We make a post request. Yeah, perfect. This is exactly what I was hoping for. This is what I was saying about you've got this weird like nested body thing. So just that works because I've not changed anything. Now, if I look at putting a breakpoint in, so maybe put one in here. I just want to check at that point. got. Okay. Yeah, so it's plain text still at this point. So I'm going to move. Where did I put my? Move it in a bit deeper to try and figure out where.
I feel like, yeah, maybe the sending the key value pair in that method makes it like become the JSON, like
Yeah,
that Ruby way that it does things, where it's like, oh yes, this is now a hash or whatever.
that's the thing about native pry is pretty dumb. So go into here. Okay, that's interesting. I guess, are we not calling post?
I think it was REST API, post API. Wasn't there two of them? Or can you scroll up a little bit? I don't know, maybe not, maybe I'm wrong. No, okay.
Network.post API. I bet we are mocking. Mocking it. Look. Yeah, we're only mocking the actual HTTP call, I think. And the fact that I was hitting my binding pry in here, I would really expect it to. Is it just because I'm not doing this? Um, just gonna see if I can. Work with old school pry. And then at least I can try and step in and see. Okay. Right.
What does it, can you print the body at this point to see what it looks like?
Okay, it's going straight to this one. It's not going to this one for some reason. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So it's already, yeah. So Terry, I think you're spot on. I think if we.
I feel like if you add I'm not sure if you need to add the curly braces around it, but maybe to be more
make it an object.
Yeah, just to make it explicit for the reader. I don't know if it's required or not, but it feels like it might be nice.
So I'm just going to try it without, because I'm just curious to see if it actually works. Oops. Yes. Okay, so that works. Now, if we make it an object or a hash, is a hash more accurate? Does that work as well? Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's nicer, right?
I think so. I have to say, as someone who knows absolutely no Ruby, this makes no sense to me at all. I'm like, what? What just happened there?
So let's just have another look at this. Okay, so we've got a body.
So we were passing it a body, and it knew, like, it assumed, oh yeah, this actually should be a dictionary, so I'll just make one for you. Like,
Not quite, nearly. Okay, so my understanding is, and Terry's probably much better versed in Ruby than me, but when you've got what would I call this? Like, I'm
The
gonna call
method
them
params, yeah. and
yeah,
then-
normal parameters, normal arguments for a method. You don't need, like, I could just call it by doing like post API Bob Dave, and that will pass those two values to the relevant sort of arguments parameters. If I do a named sort of argument, Bob Dave, like that, then it will kind of take all of that and pass it to the parameter. It won't just take like, oh,
so it'll make this a dictionary and say this parameter is a dictionary. So
pretty much it's seeing that this isn't a value, this is like more than a value, this is an object. So yeah, I think implicitly
sorry,
so we want to go just like, okay, there's two things we want to pass now. We want to pass this as well. So we're being a bit more explicit now rather than being implicit.
This makes sense.
Obviously, we now need to wire this up somewhere, which is, I kind of think, where you probably wanted to start.
Yeah. It could start anywhere, but this makes sense. Sorry, one last question about this thing. So does it mean that, like, does Ruby support named parameters at all? Like, can you make like,
yes,
and so how does it distinguish between the two if the names collide, like in this case?
I think you can do body. Oh god, there's two ways. I can do body equals that for it to be an optional one, but you can also do that, right?
Yeah.
Terry?
Yeah.
But then on the call side, what does it look like? Because if I say, like, we have now body colon something, how does it know if we're explicitly saying this is the parameter we're
for this
assigning?
one, it looks exactly the same as it currently does. For this one, you have to explicitly, so it would then, I'm going to use the term deconstruct. So if you then did your post API body Dave, then it would just pass the Dave bit to the parameter named body.
But isn't that what we were doing before with body colon comment? So why would it pass?
Because
why would it not pass just comment?
Because it's not a named argument. It's just
you have to say that it is one by adding this extra body colon in there. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly my understanding.
Okay, now I understand better. So by default, parameters in a method are not named, like they're not basically.
No, and I think that like special behavior only happens when it's the last value, like for it to understand it being, I think. And they also, Ruby 3 introduced some changes in how all of that stuff is interpreted, and I would have to go back and look through it through the docs. It's I think if you have only a few method arguments, it's fine to just have them in the way that they are that way. But it gets confusing I feel like it gets confusing for the reader if you have something that's like expecting, a hash or, an object or whatever you want to call it, and it's not clear.
Especially here, where like we expect a hash that has a key that is the same as the hash name. It's like, come on.
It's very confusing.
That really makes things hard. Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like it's also nice when you have all of the parameters kind of be like named or like the ones where they have the colons, because then you could send it in any order.
Yeah.
Ruby's not like really type safe, and you don't know what type you have, but at least you know like what you have.
It's funny because I sort of come from a .NET world and C#, and like I used to just use the like order-based parameters, but then moved across to the named parameters because it is a much more, like you say, flexible and also avoids any kind of accidental, oh, we've passed this value to this parameter and we've transposed them, etc. So named is quite nice, I do admit. So the question is, how does this, so the comment action, I'm trying to figure out, so this is I
think the resource object here is kind of like the key, because you see it says it builds a comment based on a resource, but like what's a resource? Like what does it contain? Is it the rule? Is it, I know it's the issue itself that was detected by the triage bot. So maybe that's like the target, maybe not the the config.
I don't know, because if it's capable of building the comment purely from the resource, then it must have enough information in there to do that.
Fair.
So
I thought this because in the docs it talks a lot about, like, the word resource is used to mean essentially the target sort of issues or epics and whatnot.
It is,
so,
you're right.
But it could still be a naming problem.
It might be that we include in the resource, we include the rule or whatever it's called. So I'm gonna hope that this. So,
There's a Y in binding. Like an extra Y. There you go.
Amazing, thank you.
Binding. Small binding.
Okay, so now we can have a look and see what resource is.
Oh. It's just a hash.
But
and it's just the target, right? So it's not
okay.
There's nothing
So
about the config in here.
So how does build comment know? It's got access. We've got access to the policy. There you go. There you go. We've got access to the policy. That's in, I guess, some kind of global
Somewhere.
So awesome.
Can you print the policy in that? Okay, so the policy will contain the flag, basically, right?
Yeah, I think so. So where it is, we've got to kind of work out options. Let me just work out clearing. That would be policy.actions. Yeah, policy.actions, I think, will be what we want.
So that's testing, it's not making a comment, it's just mentioning a user and adding labels.
Gotcha. Okay,
so I think if you could find a spec where maybe it's testing comment.
Yeah, sounds good.
I don't know, this is very confusing, but I feel like I understand. Maybe when adding a comment, and then we can add a spec that says when adding a comment that
internal comment basically
has, yes.
So now our policy.actions. Beautiful. Yeah, I think you're right. That's a good. Let's. This one's a bit bigger than I want, but. There, right. Sure, we must be able to tidy this up at a later date, but that's fine. Where's it getting? So actions. And we're adding labels, etc. Right, cool. Actions hash do comment type. So we can add in our comment internal into our actions hash. stub, we're expecting to then have internal true. Maybe I should verify. I'm actually passing it already, aren't I? So I'm quite surprised. I was going to say I didn't break any specs, but I didn't actually run any to know whether I'd broken them or not. Shit, they will all be broken. Right. Yeah, that should be fine. Still got a binding prime there. Okay. I think I understand. I'm a little bit surprised that that passes, but I think I understand. No, I'm not, because I've put that in. I'm interested to know if it passes without that. No, awesome.
It should have passed because you added false, right? And so, right?
Yeah, so I've kind of hard coded false at the moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it makes sense. I wasn't sure if a ball's default value was false, if this would pass without this explicitly being stated, but it makes sense.
No, yeah, I think it makes sure that like what you tell it, if it doesn't it doesn't get called with that, then it's like, hey, you missed something.
Now this one should definitely fail because it's expecting internal to be true, but it's false because we've not wired anything up anywhere to pass this through. So the question is, where do we, I guess if we look at where comment type is handled, that might help us a little bit. So it's actually in comment stub resource type. Cool. Yeah. So it should be as simple as policy actions. Sure, there'll be a nicer way of doing this, but should we do like a?
I mean, it's going to be straight up. You could have a separate function, I guess, for it, but it'll be a single line, right? It'll be just policy.
I think, yeah. Whether there's any magic needed for like the null check-in or not, but probably not. Yeah, because yeah, I'm inclined to do that maybe.
I think that's fine. If it's not sent, then that will be, if it's not set, it should be false.
Sorry, what's up with the double exclamation mark there?
So I think converting it to a ball basically, because if it's null, like it's, I don't know that it's necessarily false, although null is a falsy value. So by doing the not, you will convert something into a ball, but it will have the opposite value to what you want it to have. So by doing it twice, you basically convert it to a ball.
Okay, I see.
The correct value.
I remember when I first saw this, I just opened up IRB and I'm like, okay, I don't understand what it's doing. So I would like ran the code until I was like, oh, okay.
No, that's a good shout. So if we do like nil returns nil, not nil returns true, not nil returns false, and then if it's some other value, so not true, not true,
or not like
false.
Yeah, so it's like you said, it's like a Boolean conversion, which is fine,
which is null safe essentially. Yeah.
And in this case, it's okay because if it was to be nil, we want to default to, actually, we want to default to
the existing behavior, which is, I think like if someone, because this originally worked like that, we want to, the default behavior should.
Yeah. And luckily nil is false because, well, it is, I guess.
Exactly. So the only thing I'm getting now is these other specs. Oh no, they should be false, shouldn't they? Assuming, well, so will they. Promising. Oh,
That's a lot of failures.
um,
I think it's because we have to change the stubs for everything to now have internal false.
okay, so now I'm wondering if we can cheat,
So
or would
if
be
we
better
don't
excluding
send,
it. Yeah,
I
exactly.
feel like we should only send it, and that would reduce the number of changes that we have.
Yeah,
to
sounds
make.
good. So the annoying
So maybe
thing
if you
is-
pull that like body out, or like, I don't know what you want to call the param, if you pull that whole line 68 out into its own value, like
method
variable.
called body.
Yeah, call it, I don't know what, request body, I don't know, something
Body,
that's not
the
just
function.
body. Like, and then you can add to it if
Mhm.
we should add internal, like you can merge internal true if the internal param is set to true or something.
So
Oh, I didn't mean a method, but we can see how this works. Yeah.
I'm gonna do something like
I'm curious to see the Ruby way to, fancy way to kind of conditionally add a key value or not to a hash.
yeah, I guess we'll just
I think you can use
say-
merge, dot merge.
yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have to get rid of the internal falses. Promising, run the whole suite.
So I will say, once the suite's done, we might look at refactoring that just a little bit.
Absolutely.
But this works and
I
everything
mean, we
passed,
could
so
even
it's good.
probably just
Yeah, I don't
do
know
that.
if we, yeah, I think,
Oh no, because no, we can't do that.
well, hold on a second. I'm gonna test something out in IRB. I don't know.
Can I be a manager and ask, why do you feel this needs refactoring?
Yeah, no, so I know like a lot of the time I don't know if it needs a refactor, but I feel like if someone got this in a review, like if this was my MR and I get a review, I feel like they might make like a non-blocking suggestion to say, maybe a little bit less risky to not use the merge exclamation point. I feel like modifying existing object.
Gotcha.
And then what I was testing in IRB was, what is the dot merge without the exclamation point return? And if that returns like a modified object, then maybe we could just return, we can't because we're only doing an if statement.
That's why I think we need this.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe it was better. I don't know.
I want to just remind myself and make sure that does fail.
It will fail, right? It better fail.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like it better
So
fail.
there isn't like a merge unless or merge if or something like this, right? It's just merge and it either modifies or not. Right?
Yeah, and maybe this is okay. I don't know. I think we usually follow the Ruby style guide, and I would look in there to see, but this is functional. And this allows us to modify.
Asking a friend quickly.
And I feel like the only other thing, this one doesn't have Rubicon on it, cop on it, but 110 is missing a space after the comment, and I get things on that a lot in mine. It's making, I feel like I don't notice UX issues when people are like, the spacing on this is off, but for some reason in code, I notice when spaces are missing. Oh, look at that. It's, oh, there you go. So we don't need to use merge. We can use body internally.
Oh.
And I'm glad we have this. So description. Oh, we need to.
Completely wrong. Is it like, a symbol?
Yeah. It's a symbol.
Yeah.
And we got another complaint about. I think we need.
Oh, because I haven't given it a name for the what's it? So say when adding
an internal comment.
Yeah, and I should be able to simplify this before.
Yeah, maybe then we don't need to have it say with leading and trailing white spaces. We can just have it be when adding an internal comment, and then
thank you.
That it would need to be updated. It posts the comment internally. I don't know.
Post an internal comment, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, I think line 159 might need single quotes around the text, I think. Yeah.
Yes, I think you're right. I'm thinking that YAML syntax. So I'm thinking, it's YAML, it doesn't need it.
Yeah.
It does. Trading white space.
And then I would just change 165 to what Francois suggested, maybe like it posts an internal comment or something like that. I don't know. The verbiage is not as important to me as what it says. Oh, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know how to say it, but like how it's written doesn't matter as much as what it means.
I'm feeling quite happy about where it's we need to.
This was nice. Oh yeah, so okay, so we're making this change that supports internal comments. I apologize if I missed this. Is this where the internal comment would be used, or are there other projects using this triage tool that would then change what they do?
Yeah, so it would be the triage ops project would be the primary one that GitLab we're using dog food in, whatever you want to call it. But then potentially our customers, users, anyone else in the world could be using it as well.
Yeah, and this is where this came from, by the way, is because like we use it internally, but we've never had the need for it to post internal comments, which is fine. But I'm basically in the process of making a demo for how to use this gem to process, like to triage service desk issues. And service desk issues, the thing with them is like if you post a comment on them, it sends an email. But they get the comments are translated as email,
To
and
everyone.
they reach your customers. So like you would probably often want to
Yeah,
post
because
internal comments basically, or probably
service
almost
desk-
always.
like, is service desk Zendesk or is it different?
Yeah, I mean, it's like GitLab's version of Zendesk, but
Okay.
it's a very limited feature set at this point. But
Okay.
it's mostly like, yeah, issues and comments on issues via email kind of thing. So you
Okay.
can
But
post
if you're
comments
having
and they'll
like
become
internal discussions, you don't want necessarily
exactly,
it
yeah,
to go out to the broader
yes,
everyone that's
exactly.
involved in the issue. Okay. That
Yeah,
makes
exactly.
sense.
So people do use internal comments a lot on service desk issues, but like if you had an automation, like a triage automation, most likely it's going to post comments that are like internal only. It's like, oh, team, this has been open for 30 days. Let's do something, but you don't want your customers to actually see that like no one is
Yeah,
looking at your
like,
stuff.
hey, we noticed that you haven't been doing anything on this, and maybe you might want to look at it. No, that makes total sense. This sounds like
Yeah.
a really good piece to add to that feature.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like a small win, but I think could be pretty useful actually. So it's nice that it seemed pretty easy enough to implement at least. So that was nice. Or are we missing anything else, or is that's kind of like the extent of it? Obviously docs and stuff, but
I
that's what
see
I
you
thought
adding
I'd
docs right
quickly.
now.
Yeah, that's what I thought I'd try and
So
whip in super quick.
would we want to keep the comment type in there as an example, or
It doesn't hurt, but I don't feel it's necessary.
Okay.
I would say no, just to
Okay.
like, I feel like the minimum that is, yeah, I would say
Got
no.
it.
And maybe the text could be something that sounds very like internal, like, oh, hey team, can you make sure to look at this issue or whatever, or
maybe something like
oh, hey, this is really sensitive, or I found some really sensitive data about this or whatever. I don't know, something that sounds pretty like internal, basically. Yeah, this is good.
I don't know whether to sort of say like true, what values. No, I don't feel that. Are there any other
do you
true
have
false
to
ones?
add? Yeah, I don't.
Add false with default in parentheses. I saw this somewhere else. Maybe that could be useful. If you like this one, yeah, comment and thread.
Okay.
So maybe you just have a bullet point list of like true and false, and true is the false is the default.
Oh, we go above that. There's one for like false. Go up a little bit more. There you go. That's redact confidential resources. So that you could use that.
Mm-hmm.
Set to false or not set. So I think there you go. The comment would be I guess the comment will be visible to everyone.
I don't
Like
think
for
we should
line
try and
922.
explain. I don't think we should try and explain what an internal comment
Yeah.
is, because we could change the definition of an internal comment at a future date. We just keep it simple.
We just need to change 922
Yeah.
that like that the
opposite.
data.
The comment will
parentheses,
not be internal.
The comment
I
will
don't know.
not be internal is all I meant. Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah.
And then I would also recommend getting a documentation review if you feel necessary, especially if it's going to be consumed by customers or any external resources. I always think my docs are great, but then I get a documentation review and I'm like, okay, do I even know English sometimes? I don't know.
Oh, hey, good news. My on-call shift is over for the past 45 seconds. Hooray.
Awesome. I've lost my clock because the Zoom like green box is covering it. Are we at time? Are we?
We're exactly on time now, yeah.
Awesome,
But
awesome.
yeah, so
Cool.
maybe we can recap. Is there anything that's still left for this that we would need to do after this call? Like,
No, well, I thought we were done, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, don't forget the doc. So I thought I'll quickly whip in here and throw something together there. But no, I suppose what I would call, well, I don't think it's the right technical term, but I would call a functional test. Like it would be good for us to actually be able to run it.
to try it out, yeah. I can do that actually, I think, because I'm currently experimenting with stuff like this anyway. So if you push this in a branch,
Amazing.
I could try it out locally on this test project I'm working with right now.
Perfect. Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, I'll push it up and share the well, I'll tag you in it in a moment. And you know, if you fancy braving the other one, having a stab yourself, I think it was more of a language change, but I'm not sure how intelligent you wanted to be and try and sort of look at the content. And
I don't know. I'm not sure either. I'm also happy to be challenged on this. So you posted a comment there. I also replied just before this session.
Yeah.
So let's see where we land on first before making any changes. Maybe it's not a good suggestion as well, right? So we can see.
Yeah, I definitely like clarify. I've got a couple more seconds, so I may as well. It's something that syncing up probably will help slightly. So yeah, at the moment it says the following comments would be posted, but what you're saying is, well, actually posting that as a comment doesn't actually post a comment.
Yeah, and it's misleading. It's worrying because you see, I'm like, oh, I'm setting up stuff for my service desk, right? And it's like, I really don't want comments to be posted.
Yeah.
By the way, the internal thing completely alleviates this because I could just say internal true and I wouldn't be worried anymore.
That's true. That's nice.
Maybe we could have it say like, oh, the following internal comments will be posted. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that could be another solution to this, by the way.
And then, yeah, so I know you interpret it. So yeah, let me verbalize my one quickly. So I think a number of the things are available in the actions. So like action. So yeah, you've got like your comment action, your move action, etc., etc. But I imagine certain things like adding a due date or removing a due date, or I'm sure there are quick actions that aren't available as actions.
Yeah,
so the only way to sort of process them would be to use the comment action, but put your quick actions inside the comment.
Yes. So as a person writing a rule, right? Like you're writing your rule and you're like, oh, this thing doesn't support this as an action, so I'll add it as inside my comment. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So in that instance, our thing, it would have to be quite clever to try and determine the fact
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought maybe if we just made this message a bit woolier, and sort of said that, you know, it will submit a comment or post a comment or add a note or something like that. If the note only contains quick actions, then, you know, the result will be, well, I can't remember what my term was, any comment including only quick actions will be submitted, but result in no comment being posted to the issue. So that was me being a bit like cheating and not being intelligent and just saying, well, we'll just explain that these are the scenarios. But, you know, I'm happy either way. I agree that, you know, it'd be nice to clarify and improve that message a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I really think now that like because it's no matter, we cannot distinguish, I guess, or probably it will be difficult and not worth it to distinguish whether the comments that's only quick actions is only quick actions because of us, you know, us, or because they're supported as actions via quick actions, or because the one person who wrote the rule added only quick actions to there. So it's like suddenly it becomes very complicated and not really valuable, I think. So I think the main I go back to like, what's the problem here as me as a user of this gem is like, I'm worried that a comment will be posted. So again, I do think that I even thought about it after I wrote this whole thing up. I was like, the only reason I have this problem now is because I cannot post internal comments. Like, you know, if I could, then I'll be fine because, well, I still need to remember this and, you know, but so I would almost suggest like, yes, we could put this node in because that's probably easy and doesn't hurt. Kind of, might hurt a little bit, makes the output a bit longer and, you know, more with more words. But I'll be very happy if we could say like the following internal comments, for example, if
that should be a very binary, right?
Yeah, you know? That feels like it should be easier, unless the comments they're like the following comments and they're like, you know, all listed and some of them might be internal, some not. So this is where it might become a bit hairy again, where it's like, so maybe it needs to be the following comments and the following internal comments, which could be annoying also. So gotcha. I feel like this could be maybe a better path, but also again, kind of reiterating, I think with internal comments enabled, this is much less of a big deal, kind of. We might even just drop it entirely and go on and do better things with our lives. I don't know.
I think at the end of it might be like this one, like once you poke around and try changing something, you'll soon have a feel. But because, you know, we knocked it out in an hour, it might take another hour or two, like merge request reviews, responding to comments, tweaking it. If you can achieve similar in an hour with the improving that message, then you'll probably take it as a nice quick win. If it's a can of worms, then you'll probably step back.
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe I'll leave another comment to that issue as well about the fact that, you know, since we're gonna get internal comments pretty soon, we could instead, as a solution, do something quite a little bit different than what I initially suggested.
Yeah. Awesome. Good stuff. Thanks very much. I'll push up the branch, tag you on it, and
yeah, thank you. I see you already linked the issue, so I will upload the recording and link to the issue in the description. So I'm going to stop the recording now.
Amazing.
Awesome.